12 rows back. Here we are midweek in between rounds 9 and 10. We are really getting to the good part of the year. It's almost at the halfway point. There's positions flying in and out of the 8, in and out of the top 4. Teams, are they going to come from the clouds, from the depths of the ladder? Who knows? We'll be here to talk about it. Seb, how are you travelling?
Oh, fantastic, Tom. We are midweek. Election Saturday. The old federal election doesn't sort of register in our world a lot of the time, but that's a big deal. Um,
Oh, absolutely. I get amongst it, Seb. I love that we all have to vote. It is magnificent. The way it should be done, if you ask me.
I didn't actually know that, Tom. But we're not here to talk elections. We're here to talk footy.
Nah, let's stay out of that.
It could be a streak broken on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. There's a powerhouse club that are just getting a bit too big for their boots, and it might be right for the picking coming back from Perth.
Jeez, you'll have to. I'm coming back from Perth. Who was that? I'm rusty.
Melbourne.
There it is. I've already forgotten about him. That's how
Sorry,
relevant they are.
that's not who. North Melbourne are playing Narm.
Yeah, no,
Now,
It is Indigenous round. Lots of awesome work on the jumpers there. There might be a clash on Saturday night, but lots of great work going on in that space.
well,
That's for
just
sure.
on that, a couple of things. So I think it's great that they've changed their name to Narm. They're Narm on the website, but they're playing North Melbourne. Could they have not coordinated this? There'd be Narm versus North Narm.
Yeah, well, yeah, true. I mean, yeah, I didn't think about that, to be honest. They probably left you in the cold there. It could have been a great celebration from both sides and both teams. So,
They have a
yeah, a bit of
little
a
bit,
strange
but
one.
that's all right. Just they've come up with the idea, so full credit to them. There's about 3 or 4 clubs who have not designed a new jersey, Indigenous jersey. They've just recycled out the old one. I don't rate that.
You reckon you've got to go a new one each year?
I would be, because you've got what 5, 6, 7 Indigenous players on a list. Like one of
Well,
them
look, it
comes
is
in,
poor because
designs it.
it is a great opportunity to get the community, Indigenous communities involved and build those strong links that all clubs have with their Indigenous players and families. So yeah, I'm with you actually. I think it should be changing over every year. I love seeing them. Geez, there's some good ones out there. I'll take my hat off. I reckon the Ruse one's up there for me actually. Seb, nice design, that one. That could be one for
Yep,
the
no,
for
it's
the
a
wall.
good strip. Yep, the wall. There's not much space on the wall at the minute. But I can tell you, West Coast are one of the teams. West Coast actually had designs ready, but their manufacturers couldn't get the jerseys printed. They've
Oh,
had a
that is
problem
poor.
all
Jeez, they've had a
year.
mare in all fronts,
They've had a
on and
problem
off field.
all year with
Jeez.
their jumper manufacturers. There's a player who hasn't been able to get a jumper with his number on it. I can't remember his name, but yeah, I think they had 2 designs ready to go and sort of said, "Yep," and they were like, "No, we can't do it. We can't give you one." So they've had to recycle it. So, yep, that just tells you where they're at in 2022.
Jeez, that's sad to hear, but hopefully they can get that sorted because I know, it's not just this week. We do see the jumpers throughout the year. So, who
It should
are,
just be the clash strip, shouldn't it? Isn't that the simplest way to do clash strips?
well, yeah, that's probably true as well. We'll save that because we're going to get into something, election and if we were Gill related down the track, Seb. So I might have something on jumper clashes further into this agenda.
All right, no, let's do. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. We just run off the top. You've written here Dusty's leaving, so you know something I
Well,
don't.
no, no. Well, look, I might be jumping on a fair media wagon that's already forming because this would be a massive story, obviously. But just Damien Hardwick, presser yesterday, comments sort of regarding Dusty saying, look, he's been a great servant for the club. Wouldn't begrudge him the opportunity if he left. I think Peggy O'Neill's come out and sort of said, he had a bit of time thinking when he was having his break, 6 weeks. I think he was actually up in Sydney during that time. So, I'm just going off the old where there's smoke, there's fire. And, there's a few things here. I could be wrong. We give our trade rumours a little bit later. So this is pretty early for this kind of thing. But I'm maybe I'm reading between the lines or maybe I'm reading something that's not there. But it would be an interesting one, Seb.
So he's going
Sydney.
to
I'm
Sydney, you think?
maybe joining Buddy up in that Sydney forward line.
Gee, that'd be something, wouldn't it? Has he got any football left in him? Like high quality year or two? Or is it
Well,
just
I mean,
cream on top
AFL
come
high
September?
quality or yeah, no, it's a fair call. Are you thinking AFL high quality or Dusty high quality? Because they're two different things.
Oh, Dusty.
Well, that's hard. I think we're talking that's triple Norm Smith medal form, and Brownlow medal form. I don't think he's there. So probably the answer to that would be no. But yeah, like I said, if you're talking about just AFL standards, I'm pretty sure most clubs would take him, and Sydney or the Giants, if we're talking Sydney, would benefit from him being on their list. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah, most clubs would. I mean, North tried to lure him across many years ago, and he didn't bite. It's probably worked out pretty well for him. What would you give up? Like picks? Richmond
Well,
would
yeah,
want some
that
picks back, wouldn't they?
they would want picks back. I mean, well, he's crossed that 30 threshold, so sorry, when I say crossing 30, I instantly think of Geelong, but um, he's going to command something, obviously, because I look. I mean, we've seen him come back from a layoff. He's come back. He's in. He probably would have got Brownlow votes on the weekend against the Hawks. So, look, he's still a fantastic player. I mean, I can't. It's hard. First round seems. I don't know where you sit with him because I mean, yeah. How many years do you think he has left? Does he have two or three? You know, high quality AFL standard that is years left in him, or is he on a 1-2 sort of timeline?
No, well, you can only bring him in if you think you can make finals, finish top four, and he'll change that scenario. You can't bring him in if you're sitting ninth, 10th, and thinking, oh, he's that good, he could vault us to a premiership. Because he's not, like,
So he's cherry on top sort of stuff.
at this
Cream on
point of
top.
his career. Yeah, that's not it's not a slight. It's not intended as a slight. It might sound like a slight, but he's just. It's not where he's at in his career. He, if you like, 2017 was a year out of the box. Like he was great all year through finals, everything else. His other years, he was good, but not as consistently good. But when it mattered, he played some great grand finals and probably none better than the Geelong 2020 grand final where he just willed them when they were down on the canvas. He just willed them across the line versus the other two grand finals where, yeah, he played well, but Richmond were winning those games almost no matter what happened.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. So, I mean, so to go back on it, I guess if you're thinking team 9 or 10th, the Giants would be lucky to get there this year at this stage, given where they're at. So, I mean, Dusty to Sydney, is this a legit thing? They would have assets, I would say, trade assets, surely.
But would you want to give them up? You might have to.
Oh, I don't know. Well, if you're the Swans, and I mean, what were they last year out in an elimination final? You'd think this year they could go. I think they are
You reckon the
prelim
team
bound.
that loses to Gold Coast at home can go prelim, do you?
If you want to play that game, well, I think they might meet the team that kicked 3 goals in 2 quarters against West Coast. But there's one for the D's. No, look, I'm bullish on the Swans. So I think they're top 4 this year, and then another preseason into their youngsters: Goulden, Warner, Rowbottom, etc. And then you throw Dusty into a forward line with Buddy, who doesn't, he still commands a great defender, obviously, Buddy. And imagine you throw Dusty into that mix. It let, I guess, some of these youngsters off the chain. Maybe a Logan McDonald comes in. I mean, they're in that window, Sydney, and they're probably still young enough, actually, that they could absorb someone of this age, unlike other teams that we've seen. Sorry, there was another one for the Cats there. I think it would be smart from the Swans to have a go, if it's a chance.
Yeah, he probably fits. He probably fits in there a little bit. I don't see it happening. I don't see him playing for anyone else. I see him retiring before he goes to play for anyone else. He's got a little bit of old school in him that he's loyal to the boys and wouldn't want to go elsewhere. And I just don't see it happening personally.
Nah, look, I can see you there. I mean, it's funny because the one bloke that needs to probably be asked about it, Dusty, gives minimal media input. So we will probably never hear from the man on the issue until way, way, way down the track. So, yep, we can keep speculating, Seb, and we'll just see what happens here. But I'm just going off the little things that have bubbled up this week.
All right, now I'm just going to stay on the Dusty topic and steer into your area of expertise. As the Saints, what would you give up for him?
Jeez.
Your first round pick, what's that going to be? Pick 15?
Oh, yeah, it might be 18 or 19.
It's going to get to 19, is it? We're going to get a priority pick and you'll get 19. Thank you.
I actually didn't think of the priority pick, but no, I thought, there's probably going to be some sort of wheeling and dealing. There's a few free agents floating around. What would I give for him from the Saints? That is a great question. Well, we kind of need to keep our. Oh no, I probably would go a first rounder for Dusty. I mean, it's dangerous for us because we're starting to sort of head into that turf where we've really the age bracket of the list is getting older. We're not a young side. I know I do pot the team down the highway, but we're not. It's actually funny you mention age because I think Champion Data put out youngest and oldest lists, and we sort of skewed a bit older. So we'd really have to think that we were flagged next year to bring Dusty in, like instant flag. It's the kind of decision you'd see an Essendon or a Carlton make where they think they're closer than they are, and then they've brought in this big recruit to get them over the line. We're probably susceptible to it too.
I was going to say Brad Hill, Dan Hanbury.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't. Yeah, oh no, he's a star. He's too young for that, Seb. But no, look, I don't know if he would work Dusty. Dusty will work anywhere.
So you give up your first round pick. Would that be enough for Richmond? Richmond are going to let him go with their blessing based on what he's done, but I think they play a little bit of hardball to get a little bit more and go 3-time Norm Smith medalist, 1-time Brownlow.
Yeah,
medalist.
Well,
the thing is with those negotiations, he could have won 10 straight Brownlow medals. You're trading for what he will do, and chances of him winning the next 3 pretty slim. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm thinking now, mid argument, because we're going to trade a first round pick who could be a 200 gamer for the next 10 years versus, we might get 40 games tops out of Dusty. That'd be a fairly good run, I would say, in that time. I'm thinking 2-3 years, maybe, we at his age, nursing him through maybe 45, 50. But yeah, look, I don't know, actually. I'm not going to turn down his talent at the Saints, but
list, you don't
profile,
need
and age bracket.
You're travelling too well. Interesting. Melbourne can't kick a goal against West Coast, and the Saints are travelling too well for Dusty. There is a headline.
Yeah, you got me there. Well, sharp on a Wednesday. Now, well, speaking, I guess, of the Sydney teams, and particularly one that wears orange, the Giants. So they've lost Leon Cameron. He's been walked out.
Yes, we got
Spike McVeigh, an Essendon boy, is now caretaker coach, and he's brought a couple of Essendon mates with him just to steady the ship up there, Seb. So Dean Solomon's back in a assistant coach capacity, and James Hird had I guess he was working a day and a half in the leadership capacity. He's had his role upgraded. So it's a bit of a Bombers flavour to the Giants. What do you think of that?
Yeah, well, I think Leon Cameron was smart and everything was handled well from his end. Spike McVeigh is probably the longest term for an interim coach I can remember in recent memory. He's going to get 13, 14 games out of it. 13 games, I think it is.
Actually. That's
which is a fair stretch, and he's just got a couple of smart footy brains that he knows. It's no surprises he used to play with them, and there's no, like, I don't know their situations where they were living. Do they have to uproot themselves and move up there? What sort of setup is it? But he probably just wants some support. And again, if I'm McVeigh, right? And I don't know any of this, but if I want to be a senior coach, if that's my goal and ambition, there's no chance in hell I'm taking up a caretaker coach position, because it just gives you more of a black mark than anything else. And if you do get the job, they seem destined for failure. Teague, Shaw, Who else has there been?
John Barker, I think he did it for a while for the Blues
But
before
he never got
Bolton.
the main gig though. Like
No, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Teague and
Oh,
Reece
sorry, you
Shaw
mean main gig?
got it
Yeah,
and
sorry.
then
Yeah, no, you're right.
kept the
Do you
spot
include Brett Ratton in that one, that mix? He got a
for.
couple of games after Richo in 2019.
Did he?
Yeah, I think he got a couple late
Oh,
because we bought him in. It was all it was all he was there in the
well,
coaching box
I'd
with
have
him.
him
It
in a
was
different class than the other two. Like played a final, won significantly more games.
fair.
But look, yeah, and some of the other caretaker coaches. I mean, Bob Harvey did it. He hasn't. Like he
Yeah,
can't
actually,
seem to
that's
get a
good.
job. John Barker was at Carlton for quite a while, stayed on as an assistant, and they finally worked out maybe it's some of these coaches we've had for 10 years.
The only one I
Who's
can really think of that worked really well, and this is going a while back, was I think Eid out and Roosie came in, and the Swans boys absolutely loved him, got around him, and that was their Bloods culture off and running. That was
yeah,
about
that's
that was a
lightning in a bottle,
hugely
isn't it?
yeah, exactly. So when's that happened since? That was a little bit of luck there. Well, not luck, but brilliance there from the Swans. But
Yeah,
I'm with you. It does put a mark on you. It's unfortunate because it should be the ultimate audition. But I feel as well, given the sort of you know the market and the landscape out there. I mean, there's Clarko looming large over the whole thing. So a
and
caretaker market with Clarko in the wings isn't ideal at all.
it's not the same like environment and pressure and everything else. Like, all right, he's a caretaker coach. They're clearly going poorly. That's why we had to make the change. We're not expecting that much to come out from it. And then suddenly they win a few. It's like, oh, look at this. And really, it was just a change in voice, a couple of small changes. You're not actually lifting the group per se. So, to sort of backtrack where I was going, I don't know what his ultimate end goal is, but he might just be looking at it and go, well, I've got 13 weeks. But I'll bring in a couple of guys that know footy and we'll try and build something here and maybe I'll get a shot, or maybe I just want to do it for 13 weeks to see what it's like, and then I'll decide if the role of a full senior coach is for me. But
Yeah, but I'm with you. 13 is a fair audition. Like that. I mean, that might be his go. That's almost that's 2/3 of a season. That might be it.
well, you think if he doesn't win 6 or 7 here, he'll never be a coach?
Well, yeah, I'm steering into the black mark statement. I think in this current environment, I can't unless they win 10, maybe even more. I can't see him holding on to the gig.
Well, if they win 10, I think he'd stay, wouldn't he?
Oh,
It'd almost get him in the finals.
what are they now? 2-7, 12 wins. Yeah, they'd be pushing it. Well, it'd be a
It's 12
famous
and 10.
comeback, but
It'd be Bombers like. But he, who knows? Like, the thing is, who knows? There's going to be so many coaching vacancies at the end of the year. I reckon we'll get a few more heads rolling.
that's what you love. I love it.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah,
So the thing, I mean, part of the reason I want to bring this up is James Hurd's back coaching.
Yep.
And there have been some peanuts in the media talking about James Hurd should come back to Essendon, which fraught
I
with
hadn't seen
danger
that.
if you're going to do that.
Wow.
Hey, Slobbo, Mark Robinson on 360 gave an impassionate plea about that James Hurd could be the man.
Jeez, he came back? Didn't he? Hurt he in a capacity?
He coached. He came back after he was suspended, coached that
Yeah.
year out, and then resigned.
Oh, but has he come back to the club in any way since?
Well, his son's is his son on the list or just the VFL list? I know he's been down at the VFL watching his son. I just can't remember if he's AFL listed playing VFL or just.
Oh, that is a good question. Might be some sort of Cat B rookie. I think they had him as.
On what basis is he Cat B, Tom?
I think he had a basketball background, didn't he? I could be wrong about that. Essendon fans, you're very vocal with our socials. Let us know.
Oh, they're not members, though, I don't think. So I'm not sure if they know this sort of stuff. But yeah, no, look, in terms of James Hurd, anyone who's declaring he should never be a senior coach, I think they have something critically wrong with them and that they don't want to give him a second chance. And
yeah, that's fair.
The way the sporting world seems to work outside of our little bubble is like it's on the athlete taking the performance enhancing drugs. You can't come and blame the coach or the caretaker or the doctor or your mother for giving you a diet pill or whatever. Like, it's on you. So James Hurd's copped everything, everything, and he's like, forget him being suspended and sitting out. Like, he just had to deal with it. That would have been hard enough.
He had
He
journos outside his house for months on end.
like copped a suspension, did it. Now he's been in the footy wilderness for a while. He's sort of he's coming back now. If a team thinks he's right for the job or they want him in, so be it. I just don't think the Bombers should do it, given the history there. That wouldn't make sense for them. But
Yeah,
people saying he should never get a shot because of what happened, well, then all the players who were silly enough to take whatever they were told should also not get a shot. Like, just using the general logic and applying it across. It screams of hypocrisy, and there's a little bit of a tall poppy syndrome in Australia. I guess this isn't really that, but a second chance, like, you deserve it, don't you?
Yeah, dude, it is the weirdest thing in our game, and I still struggle to get my head around it. How often we don't give a second chance, especially in the coaching gig. Like, players can play for multiple clubs, get second chances. That's fine, but if you have your one crack at coaching, even if, like a Leon Cameron, if he was an NFL coach, there'd be that many clubs clambering for him. It would be ridiculous because they see he's run a successful program for year on year. We want that kind of bloke at our club, but we see, oh, geez, he didn't win a flag. He's cooked now. He's no good, and we just burn him. It's full. It's a sad way that we deal with it, and I don't like seeing it. So Hurdy's in that class because I feel he was probably underprepared going in. So he didn't really have the apprenticeship, or we never really saw his
He didn't have
potential in
any
coaching as
apprenticeship.
well. Yeah, no apprenticeship. And then obviously the scandal. So we never really saw if he was good at the caper or not, to be honest.
Yeah,
I know I
and
think he snuck him into a final series and they lost that, but that's just what
wow,
they
Tom,
do.
no,
But
no, no, we can talk about that. Um, it was, I think, 10 wins, and they won 14. But that was the year everything came
yeah,
out, and they got
2013, I
booted
think.
out of the finals. So they finished fifth. Richmond sixth. Richmond moved up to fifth. Carlton go from ninth to eighth. Carlton, who finished ninth, beat Richmond. That was a great moment for footy fans.
Yeah, I remember that game.
And then
Diving
obviously sat out
midfield.
the next year and everything else, and did his suspension and came back. And um, we probably still don't know if he can coach, because right when things were starting to go his way and play finals, this all happened. I've got no doubt on his footy brain.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
the
just
thing.
think you'd be
So
mad not to consider him as another club if you're looking. He had some experience, clearly knows what he shouldn't do next time. Like, he'll have a few things he won't do next time, and it could certainly help a team. I don't know why because of
well,
that, you just blacklist him. I don't get it, Tom.
I'm with you. Like, have a look at. I know it's early to be making this crow, but you have a look at Avossi, who was basically, ushered into the Lions in a similar way. Basically, no apprenticeship, went up there, bit of a disaster. Recruiting was shocking. Burnt, torched, and out he went. But he guts out and we found a spot in Port Adelaide doing their midfield coaching. And yeah, the power of they've straightened up, but they've struggled without him, and Carlton are looking great. So if Erdy can, I guess, up this time he's spending with the Giants into an assistant gig, and put together some real runs on the board with the Giants, I'm with you. The footy brain's there, I think, Seb. I mean, do you have any worries though with his time out of the game? We're talking about this drug scandal that was sort of early 2010s, 11, 12, 13. So it's a long, long time ago, and he sort of drifted in and out of footy. Does he also need that apprenticeship? Sorry, not apprenticeship, assistant coaching gig just to get his head back around the current modern game?
Possibly. You'd have to find out what he's been doing and what he's been watching. It just
Well,
sort
I
of
heard the
depends.
latest I heard was he was over in France doing some sort of business course. So I don't know if he's caught too. He certainly probably wouldn't watch Bombers games. They're borderline unwatchable. But I'm not sure more widely what he's seen of the Giants. Um, Maybe a Friday night game in Canberra where they played against a team with no ruckman. But yeah, look, we'll see what happens now. He's got more of a role. I think he should be welcomed back to the game, and coaches should get the second chance. I think we've stumbled on a couple of good points here, Seb, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, you're happy with your own work again.
Yeah,
So
our work. We're a team here.
Saints don't need Dusty. Happy with this. Next topic, please.
Yep, bring it on. No, well, I'll go to the next topic, Seb. So the figures have come out this week. Crowds are 16% down, and that's not down on COVID numbers. That's down on pre-COVID sort of 2019 numbers. I'm just going to pose a one-word question to you, Seb. Why? Why are the crowds down?
That's probably $1 million question for the collective brains trust at the AFL. I think it is a combination of the ticketing issues. So clubs just don't give out memberships. It's a bit harder for fans to turn up. Now you or I probably don't have those issues. It's you get the app, you sort yourself out on the phone. But there are some older generations, and some of those generations who turn up every single week. They don't. They don't have, they don't go and play local footy on a Saturday or have their kids playing on a Sunday that stops them going. They are genuine. Yeah, I'm only going to go out once over the weekend, but it's to go and watch my team. They're the types that just aren't getting to the games. There's an affordability factor. I think there's a scheduling factor with the timing of it. So if you throw in the timing, right? So already the timing's not so convenient for you to go with your family or your friends or whatever. But then you've also got to pay out of your backside to get your tickets to get in. Like,
Yep.
if it's an inconvenient time, you sort of expect something to come off a ticket price. They froze ticket prices, right? Yeah, they've done that.
Yep.
But what they did was you've got I don't know the exact specifics, but there's like category A seat, B seat, C seat, and all that. They upgraded a lot of the seats up to the next category, but froze them. So there were more expensive seats, but they technically froze the categories. So they didn't actually tell you what they were doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, geez, that's just a bit of a shifty one there. Bloody hell.
Well, it's classic AFL. But then they offer you $2 pies to make up for it. Now, a $2 pie is not getting me through the gate to come and watch the footy. I'm sorry. I could go and get a pack of frozen pies for like $5 or $6 and I get 10 of them. Like, you got to offer a little bit more.
Exactly.
The in-game and match game entertainment, like at the breaks and stuff, although every club just pumps out music and they have the light show at Marvel and Perth Stadium and there's nothing original about it. Carlton missed a big trick, right? So I went to the North Melbourne Carlton game and they did a player lookalike where they got a photo of a player and they scanned the crowd for the lookalike. And they just missed his biggest trick. All Carlton had to do was put Harry Mackay up and scan the crowd and find Ben. And that would have been hilarious. But what do? Find people who look nothing like the players. It's not even funny. Like, it was just nothing. And that is not a shot at Carlton. This is just the general... the fan engagement from the media side of things. Like, I remember round one, I went to Hawthorn North. First time I've been out to the footy I don't think I went last year. Oh, wait, no, I did. It was a Good Friday. That wasn't great. There was a DJ standing there pumping out tunes, and it was this young girl, and she's like doing all this dancing, and everyone's like, we're here to go to the footy. You don't have a dance party outside the MCG. It was just bizarre. They're losing touch. In trying to bring people in, and then COVID and everything else doesn't help. And there, I've given you about 18 reasons why, but pick one.
That is thorough. But I'm with you. Like, just to jump in on a few things you've said there. So, for a start, the ticketing, it is confusing, even with those that have a membership. I know we've obviously got to get with the times. We're in a digital age, but I feel like members haven't been given the opportunity to tick whether they want a membership card or not. So it's all just gone digital. So I guess
that's up to the clubs whether they do or don't give a ticket. I just want to throw one more thing. I just realised I have a lot of games I go to. I have 2 or 3 tickets. I have my membership that gets me in public, but then I have a ticket that gets me to a reserved seat. But if I use the wrong ticket, it doesn't get me into the reserved seat, but it gets me in the ground.
Yeah, well, look, I'm in the same situation.
I've confused.
Got 2 different memberships as well, and trying to I've got multiple tickets for the same game. I'm with you. It is confusing, but yeah, I mean the old school barcode. So that, I guess that's on the clubs, but I feel like that's with a bit of AFL edging. But yeah, the scheduling's an interesting one. I mean, I do like the floating fixture, but I guess it has taken away that element of planning right ahead. But I feel like that's overrated because how far ahead are you planning, Seb? Are you going to go to a game in round 20? You probably haven't thought about it yet.
No, I have.
You're planning right ahead.
Yep, we play Essendon round 21.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Like,
I said round 20. Where you got in round 20?
uh, Hawthorn?
You're playing ahead for those big rivalry games, but
Yeah,
otherwise, like,
no, no, no. So I've looked ahead, and I actually I look about 4 to 6 weeks in advance to work out where we're playing. Are we home? Can I get to it? Will it clash? And you can't do it all that well. But the scheduling as well, like you throw it in Saturday night or early Sunday or late Sunday, like the late Sunday slot's probably the one where you got to pay an arm and a leg to go and get there at 4:40 and watch like it just doesn't sit right with me that they do it all just so they can broadcast games at different times when the reality is no one sits there and watches every game back to back to back.
well, yeah, I do. Like you've mentioned it before, having the game stacked. I know your Super Saturday probably won't get up, but I have liked in recent weeks where we've had two games going at the same time on a Saturday Arvo into the one in the afternoon. It's a nice sort of afternoon that's full of footy in different ways. So I haven't minded it. I'm thinking with the crowds. I mean, can you? We're talking floating fixture as well. I mean, can you pinpoint the form of certain teams? I mean, not their own fault, but the Eagles fans haven't exactly been turning up, and when you can't really get the train to your own stadium, that doesn't help. But the Eagles are usually a packed WA Perth Stadium lock, and they're not filling it this year. Bombers are down; they've been turning up. The Blues are back though, so you have your swings and counters. Do you think there's anything in terms of, yeah, I guess the floating fixture, and have they got the matchups wrong in terms of, I guess, those big drawing teams, putting them at the right time?
They probably got some of them wrong. I mean,
I
like,
mean, are we in a weird time because up the top of the ladder you've got D's, Dockers, I guess Saints were up there, Brisbane Lions. They're not traditionally big crowd teams, you would say.
oh well, but isn't it just percentage wise like so Essendon and Collingwood are big crowd teams, but Essendon finishing 16th where they are now versus when they're on top of the ladder, they still draw more when they're on top of the ladder.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. So, like,
But no,
West
what
Coast
I'm
down,
saying is
Essendon down.
like let's say Essendon average 60k to home games, whereas North average 30 in general. But when both teams are on the bottom, it's sort of 10% less, and when they're up top, it's 10% more. It's just 10% on what they normally bring. I don't think that holds much weight that the teams on the top are lower drawing teams because they will be drawing more fans than what they would have been if they were down low.
Yeah, true, but I guess 10% of 30 versus 10% of 60, it's a different amount.
Oh yeah, it is. But then they got to play someone else, and then where's that team at? But okay, it is. But when that team, if North drop down, it's 10% off 30, so it's less of a drop.
Yeah, okay, yeah, no,
So
I see where it's all relative, I
Carlton are
guess, in
up,
that way.
Richmond is still up. Richmond, it just it's tough to pinpoint why, but I think everything ultimately is coming back from COVID. I mean, the Western Australian teams, it's a different country with COVID over there. Who knows what they're
Yeah.
feeling like?
Well,
You
that's
just
true.
don't know.
Do you put anything on, we've had 2 years of COVID and we've had 2 years of COVID footy. Have people gotten comfortable,
Yeah, they have.
sitting at home with the, heater or aircon blaring and the big screen TV, and yeah, you've got footy back to back to back. I mean,
Yeah, you flick on the
it's comfortable.
races, you can really settle in. They have, and they talk about crowds being down. If the numbers are better on TV, they're going to make more money off the deal. So it's
Look,
just
well,
sort of a
yeah,
pick your
it is.
poison, or choose your own
It is
adventure.
interesting. Yeah, true. I mean, yeah, that's sort of heading down NRL turf. They play in front of basically empty stadiums, but their ratings are, big enough to get $1 billion deal. So that's just one to keep an eye on. Well, I guess speaking of the crowd numbers, that's probably something for Gill's successor to have a look at. But yeah, like you mentioned, we're heading into the election, Seb. It's happening on Saturday. Um, Gill's leaving. I'm going to put you in the role of I guess, I want you to sell me some campaign promises. So Gill's position's coming up. We've seen, obviously our politicians go big, whatever you pay attention to, big, small, whatever controversy. I want you to pretend you want the position of AFL CEO, and I want some big promises on what you're going to bring to the job, Seb.
Oh, I'm glad you asked, Tom. Now, firstly, I'm not pretending. I do actually want this job, and would do it,
Good.
and would
That's a tick for
put
me.
my every ounce of energy, every blood, sweat, and tears into this. Firstly, day grand final here to stay.
Lock it in.
Absolutely here to stay. That's the time we love.
Indefinitely, or are you going to put some years on it?
No, well, so indefinitely, but it's moving around the country.
Oh, you're big on this. You're going to lock that in.
So
That's part
I'm
of your
locking in your
campaign
day
promise.
grand final. It's going to be a 2:30 local start no matter where we go. And this year it's at the MCG. Then we're going to Adelaide. Then we're going to Perth. And it'll be 2:30 Perth time, so 4:30 over here. So we'll still get a twilight
So
one in a couple of years.
Twilight. That's crafty.
It's
That's
brilliant.
smart.
It'll appease the broadcasters. In terms of the broadcast deal, those rights are getting split about 4 ways. So I don't know who's
You're going to spread
bidding
them
what.
across the networks.
My word, I am. Channel 7 are done. You don't want to put any footy shows. You don't want to invest in the product. You just want to roll out the same garbage with BT and Hamish and JB. Like, that's done. All right? That's what we did in the 90s. We're here in the 2020s. We've got to lift your game. So 9 will get some, 10 will get some. We'll get a streamer in there, and then Fox can take the rest.
Jeez, that's a spread. Will that juice up the deal? Is that going to bring in more dollars overall?
I've done the budget, and yes, it will, Tom.
Yeah, I knew you had. You're always good with your numbers. What else have you got? What else are you thinking?
We need... the tribunal is gone. Sorry, the MRO is gone. And when I say that, Michael Christian, you no longer have a job. As of right now, the point I am elected, you are gone. I'm just going to declare the suspensions. And if the clubs have a problem, they can come and see me.
Oh, I like that.
But I'm just going to hand it out based on what it looks like and what's fair. You can throw up some examples. Marlene Pickett deserves a week. That tackle from the... what's his name from Melbourne? Taylor?
Chandler. Oh, no.
Chandler.
Yeah, Chandler.
Nothing to answer for. You're free to play. You tackled him. Bad luck he banged his head into the turf. Liam Ryan, 2 weeks. Do not run past the ball and bump in the head. That has got to go.
Yeah, that's
Sydney player hit Zach Merritt.
Yeah, row bottom.
Same thing. You're gone for 2 weeks. Sorry, I was holding my tongue because I was about to say you hit a Bombers player, it's fine. But no, that bias can't come into this.
Yeah, I was worrying about that, but you've proven it there with a nice little example.
No, you run past the ball, hitting the head, you got to go, and that will protect the head that way. But overall, it can actually become much simpler if you just watch them once, make a decision, and move on. The umpire dissent, arms out, gone.
Yeah, that's
dissent rule still massively in. You cannot talk to umpires in a disrespectful way. You cannot be just demonstrative towards them, but if you stick your arms out for a split second, we're not going to pay that. All right? Stand, gone.
Yeah, but, so you're heading into the old the rule book. I don't mind that.
Well, I think this is one of the fans' big gripes is the rules and the inconsistency around them. So the stand rule, gone in the sense of the umpire yells stand. They just need to police the mark better. So you run up. If you're going east and west and go east slightly north, 50. It'd be much simpler to police. The ruck nomination, gone. Like, that's out. Like, that's just a no-brainer. This rewarding the tackler rubbish, get rid of it. So this is one I haven't discussed
You're
before.
big on this one, aren't you?
Well, we've got to reward the players going for the ball. And too often at the moment, they're getting the ball and getting tackled straight away because they got an arm free, it's holding the ball. You just need to... I think that rule can be policed a hell of a lot better. And I can go into more detail at a later press conference, Tom, because that is very much in depth. But none of this make an attempt is okay of throwing the ball. They've got to be clean handballs and that sort of thing. And if you've got no prior, you don't have to make an attempt by throwing it out. I think that's one of the
No,
big
I
issues.
wouldn't mind seeing that.
And last but not least, a little bit of an overhaul in the off season. So this restricted free agency compensation rubbish is gone. There is restricted free agency, I think, after 4 years.
Jeez, so you cut it in half.
Yep, yep. Um, Free agency after 5.
Yeah, wow.
When first round picks, minimum 4 year deal. Second round 3, third round 2. So they're going to get the minimum deals. And this is all have to be negotiated out in the collective bargaining agreement, the CBA.
Yeah. Yep.
But no, players can be traded wherever the hell we want.
Geez, that is a big one. That one
Like if I want to
because
send you to the Texas Rangers to play over in the US AFL, well, I can. Like that, we
you've
can.
got that power. Geez, so you're going to have some AFL types on your doorstep with that. You might have to up the players' cut
But
in that.
no, they don't get a bigger percentage. They'll just get a bigger pie. It's a bigger pie. They'll get the same percentage of a bigger pie.
Yeah, okay. There's
They're the
plenty
things
to
I would
go on with.
change very quickly.
No, I like it. That's a fair audition. There you are, AFL. The job's filled. That is comprehensive. I like it, Seb. And look, if you don't go to the CEO level, I think there's someone in the operations that'll take you with all those rule changes. That's for sure. I like that side of it.
Can you imagine what I did if how good we could run it if I put more than 5 minutes of thought into that?
Yeah, I know. That's off the cuff. That's why. That's the kind of stuff you'll get. AFL. Listen up. Now, look, I won't jump. I won't step on your toes. I'll just throw a few extra ones at you. I like what you said with the dissent. Let's get full-time umpires. That'd be something I bring in. That's just got to happen. I'd really invest hard in the grassroots. That's where the game starts. Go hard, particularly up north. Really go hard in New South Wales and Brisbane. Sorry, Queensland. Sorry. Go hard there. What else have I got in there? Love your rule changes, so not too much to change there. 2 new teams. Tassie's got to happen, and I think that's going to happen later this year, but I'm going to jump on that. And then, yeah, I think if you can get maybe a Northern Territory, WA, some sort of arrangement there, you might get your 20th side. There's an extra game. There's more dollars. There's the pie growing, Seb. I'm big on this. I just want a simple jumper policy. Teams can have 3 jumpers, light, dark, and an alternative, and maybe a fourth for Indigenous week, as we've seen this week, so we can just bloody tell the teams apart. And it doesn't matter how old your club is or what you've been wearing for 100 years, you'll have to listen to this policy. That's going to bring the visual aspects up. I'm going to go wild here, Seb, and this one's outside the box, but I'm half considering bringing in a bonus point for teams that crack the ton.
Wow.
Just to go for a point of difference. I think, it hasn't been too bad, the scoring this year, but I think how enjoyable have those games been? Carlton fans, tell me I'm wrong with that. You enjoying your team kicking 100 most weeks. It is way better than what you've been dealing with in the past 3 years. That one might be tough to get through the commission, but I'll put it up to them anyway. Your club's led the comp for this, Seb, but I do want to see clubs getting out of the pokies. I think that's just good for the game socially, and I think, let's just reel back in. I know they bring in a lot of ad revenue, the gambling companies, but I think it could be good to just to bring that back in a smidge. It's really infiltrated the game, so I don't mind. I don't want to see that grow. Look, that's all off the cuff from me. I think that's probably between you and me. We could do it as a 2-man sort of arrangement.
Yeah, you work 3 days, I work 3. And that's 6 days a week. Your commission
rest
working
on Sunday.
Yeah, it just
I like
works.
it.
The only other thing I should have mentioned, is I would go back to giving a home team 4 rights. So whoever the home team is for this week, they can play the game wherever they want.
That's a good one.
And it ties back into your jumpers. They wear their home jumper, and the other team's then responsible for wearing something that doesn't clash.
I like that, Seb. I might throw one more in while we're just throwing ones over the top. I actually wouldn't mind seeing we all play each other once and you play your rival again, and then with the 20 teams, we get a 20-game season.
Yeah, it's tough to get that one through again because you're dropping the overall number of games. Which,
Yeah, true. But I guess,
if you get
yes.
20, then you get 19 games, and then you give everyone a rivalry, and that gets you to 20. And we've currently got 22, so it's well.
I might have
But if you
to.
got the 10 games a week, it gets you to 220 games. This is the current 192. So
Yeah,
you're
so
right on.
yeah, I think that'd be good for the game. I mean, I miss the day, Seb, of the old you play every team for, this is going back to the 90s, play every team once over the first 15 rounds, and then it's just a repeat of rounds 1 to 7 to finish off the season. That was the way they used to do it. Love growing up with that. Now it's a bit all over the shop. We're playing teams twice before you've played other teams once. Don't like that. Play everyone once. You know where it's going to be one year. You know where it's going to be the next year. We can work that all out. And the rivalries, I think, would be nice. Imagine finishing round 20, or will be round 20, with a game against your rival heading into September. That'd be huge. Geez, plenty to take in there, Seb. We want your thoughts as well, listeners. So the Instagram, Facebook, 12rowsback@gmail.com. What do you want to add if you're going for Gill's job? What is top of your list? Something we've said, something we haven't said. If we missed any big ones, let us know. That would be awesome.
Yeah, please do, because there's a million and one different ideas the comp could have. I think some of ours have been talked about over the journey, but love some out of the box suggestions. That's what I love. Something different, like something
Yeah.
different. Don't be like the in-game entertainment for the footy clubs. And all right, at quarter time, we're going to kick the football really high and have people try and mark it. Then at half time, we're going to have them race the sign, the person running in the boundary sign. And then at 3/4 time, we're going to do like a trivia thing or, oh, really? Oh, but every other club does it. Like, give us something new. Give
I
us
like
something
it.
new. That's what we want.
I love it. Well, let's get to a segment we love, the mailbag. We've got a nice one here from a bloke that just doesn't say hello or write his name. We'll call him Blue Bagger 25, and he's gone. Sean Marks of the Brooklyn Nets brought up an interesting concept in terms of team building, stating they lack culture builders. Do you think struggling teams like North, Suns, and Blues for the past 20 years have lacked cultural builders, and do you think it's a concept thought of much in the AFL?
I think it's a concept very much ignored in the AFL and missed by a lot of clubs. Although the three clubs you mentioned, I would say, have had different issues or reasons it's led to where they've been. Carlton, in my opinion, was leadership from the top down. North Melbourne was, I think there was a culture there, but it was ultimately, there's no talent. There's no cream or class on top, and it was just a batless culture that we just were never quite good enough. And the Suns, the Suns needed a culture builders. The closest they really have is like a Jared Harbrow, David Swallow is his name. Those sort of players that were there pretty much from day one. I know Harbrow was, and they sort of stuck it out. But I mean, no, he's the greatest player I've seen, the greatest midfielder I've seen, Gary Ablett Jr., but he wasn't a culture builder. But he was just the best player they could get, so you got to bring him in. But you needed to bring other guys in, and unfortunately, some of the other guys they brought in were like Nathan Block, who's a bit of a no personality, nothing. Campbell Brown, who's anything but a culture builder. Who else did they bring in? Carmichael
Josh Fraser,
Hunt. Oh, that was a good call. Josh Fraser, like
Jared Brennan.
Well, I think it was different to what the Giants brought in.
That was my question. They're the two.
James McDonald.
You'd say the Giants bought. Well, they've formed some form of culture. You would say, debate whether or not they sit well with you as a club, given they're still pretty new, but there's something there, isn't there?
They brought in veterans right at the end. Like James McDonald was playing Old Zavs the year before, and then went up there. Luke Power went up there to play game 300 as a Giant. Like,
yeah, that's true. Actually,
club legend at Brisbane.
Dean Brogan, Chad Corns. They had a few up there, didn't they?
Yeah, and then one of the most underrated gets, I think, was bringing in Phil Davis. Like, he was very highly rated at Adelaide, and they sort of stuck him out and brought
Callan
him
Ward
in.
actually too.
Cal
He was a
Ward,
good one.
yeah. Traded in Ryan Griffin, captain of the Dogs. Like, the players they brought in versus the Suns are just chalk and cheese. But then look at Richmond. Now, if you break them down individually, line by line, they're actually missing a lot of talent, in my view. But they've got a coach. The coach has brought in a system, and they've got, like, Cochran's been a leader from the front. They've got a culture and a buy-in, and that's why they've been as successful as they are. Versus a team like the Dogs, who had a lot of talent in 2016, fluked it, and at this point, it looks like they fluked the grand final last year, to be honest, because they're travelling pretty poorly. Geelong had culture. That was a bit of a buy-in from the father-sons, but that has extended on through Selwood and Hawkins, and they have just been there and about the mark for the last... Well, it was 2007 was their flag. I think they missed the finals twice since then, and you can say they're old, Tom, but that's a lot of finals appearances.
I've seen them win plenty of finals. That is one of
In
the
person.
better. Yeah. No, I've been there. Don't worry. Yeah, no, that is one of the more impressive cultural builds. I think if we're talking cultural builds, I mean, Sydney weren't exactly. Well, I mean, Sydney were struggling. If you want to go back to the early '90s, they were. I think they lost 26 games straight in the early '90s. Have a look at the record books for that, and then
Paul Kelly.
Yep. Paul Kelly. They won the Brownlow in '95 when they had Barassi coaching, and I know they moved on to Eade, and then later Roos. But it's the Roosy stuff that really got them going, and that's sort of what they're known for, and it's sort of passed on into the Longmire era now. Just building playing for your mates. They call it the Bloods culture, but I mean, you talk Roosy, Seb. I mean, and cultural building. What do you put any weight on that? The D's were an absolute shambles. Let's just put that out there. They were an awful football club. They got beaten by about 190 against Geelong on a cold August day. They were rock bottom. They brought in Roosie to sort of transplant some of that Bloods culture over to the D's, and probably 6, 7, 8 years later, they've lifted the flag. Do you put any weight on that kind of appointment happening more regularly? Like they brought him in because they just had nothing to work with. He put in some, I guess, defensive structures and basics and just how to prepare. I mean, I know a lot of talent came through the door after that, but do you put any weight onto his work as a cultural builder?
Well, I really like how you said they bought him in, because they were paying him a lot of money. And I am in the vast minority of people.
I like when you start with that.
This is a genuine vast minority of people who doesn't hold Paul Roos in the highest of regard. I think he's one of the most overrated coaches of the AFL era. All right, so
wow, that's strong. Well, I knew you weren't keen on him, but that's a strong way to put it.
Well, I say overrated. I don't say he couldn't coach, because clearly he could, and he helped turn the culture at Melbourne. But I think a number of people could have done that, given the money and the resources and the structure that was put in behind him. But my biggest thing about Paul Roos is, what did they win that grand final by? 2 points in 2005?
Yeah, I think it was 4, yes. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Only coaching success was winning a grand final by less than a kick. Now, again,
he went close the next year.
But you know where this is going to hurt. Ross Lyon drew.
No idea.
He drew the grand final. Yep. Couldn't have got any closer. Should have got 2 points for it, but didn't. It's like Grammy's Norm Smith. He went to 3 grand finals. He went to more grand finals than Paul Roos. Sorry, 4. Yeah. 4, if you count the replay. Like 09, 10, 10, and 13. But he's seen as this negative, dour, defensive-minded coach.
It's a thin line, isn't it?
It's winning fixes everything, and it's perception and everything else. But where I'd probably look at it with Roosie is, when did he get out of Melbourne? Was it 17 or 16?
Oh, yeah, you're testing my memory there. I think it might have been... No, I think it was 16, because then Goody had him for 17, made the prelim in 2018. He had to have a year with them.
Yeah.
He didn't just
16.
go straight in.
It was 16.
Yeah, 16,
16 was Roosie's last year. They were 10 and 12. And Goody comes in 12 and 10, then 2018, 14 and 8. Then they go 5 and 17. And so what was that? 3 years removed from Paul Roos, everything fell apart. 9 and 8 in the first COVID year, and flag last year. And you got to remember that and they're first team to win the flag from first in quite some time. So
Yeah, true.
I put some weight behind it, but I just I just don't have Paul Roos as the messiah that everyone sort of thinks he is, Tom.
Yeah, no, I'm interested because I guess that ties back to the question. If you look at cultural builders, I guess, yeah,
It's got to
look,
be a
you have
coach
to
can
hire the
give
right person, but
a
if you
coach can
do
give
put
some
enough
direction.
resources in,
A coach can give some direction, but the players have to ultimately lead the culture change. And that's what those Swans players did. And then you look at them and look at the names. You got Goods, Bolton, Kirk. There's a host of names, from that.
O'Keefe, yeah,
Yeah, LRT. I mean, we saw a
T
lot of them.
Richards, he was probably in there. You could put him in that group. Jared McVeigh.
Yep. So they had to lead it, but Paul Roos helped sort of put it in and push them and manage it. So again, at Melbourne, I think it took them a while because they had to turn over some of those players and move them on. And there was, I mean, Nathan Jones was obviously a holdover. He was the captain at probably some of their worst times. And Jack Viney came in right when they were copping some of those losses and helped turn the culture because he just did not accept losing like that. So to trek right back to the mailbag question,
Yeah, we went on a journey with that one.
I definitely think clubs need to build a culture and bring in some of those players. And that part of that is they have to be careful about moving some of them on too early because you can look at players and go, yep, like he's aging, his best footy's behind him, let's move him on while there's some value. And you've got to weigh that up versus what he brings in terms of training and preparation and leadership and being able to be a mentor and all that sort of stuff, all the intangibles within your club. You still need players to bring that and drive that. And that's a big reason why I think North should have never got rid of Brent Harvey when we did, because he was still top of his game. He was still quick. He was going to do all those things because he still does them at local footy level.
Yeah,
So he's still going to do them at AFL level. And there's 22 spots on a field. It's not like there's 5 in basketball or even, there's only a handful of people in certain spots on an NFL field. You've got so many forward mid running players that you can afford to have one older one in there while the young ones come through because you're only keeping out at best like the 5th or 6th best one. And if they can't crack it then, or what, are they really going to crack it ever? So I think some of that gets lost and you got to move them on for picks and everything else. And it's tough. But
yeah. Look,
I think culture is probably a massively culture or those sorts of players, the team bonding sort of players. Giving you a good example of one who's recently retired, Will Schofield was out at West Coast. Not in the best 22. Not when I say not in the best 22, he wasn't a walk-up start every week to the best 22. He played in the 2018 Premiership, but was in and out of the side through the back half of the year, or probably early and sort of cemented towards the back half. He was the fines master at the club. So he was bringing them together, bringing the boys in, keeping he was doing all that sort of stuff. But in terms of footy ability, not necessarily the best, but needed that to keep the team on an even keel and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, there are certainly some clubs who have lacked it and need to sort of find something. There's a couple at the minute,
well, yeah, that it does. It gets back almost, to the recruiting. You talk about, cultural builders. I mean, are the cultural builders in the list management teams? I mean, they're the blokes bringing players into a list and putting together a group, and they're doing all kinds of personality and psychoanalysis, of players to get that right. I think, that's obviously part of their thinking, but I'd be interested to see how much. We might have to get our mate from Geelong to come on the show and let us know that one, if he'll come on, given what I've dished up against the Cats recently.
He might want to return serve at some point.
Yeah, that's maybe I'll keep going just to tempt him to come back. During the week, we did our polls on Instagram, so the fans love these. It is interesting to me because, yet again, we put questions out and not all of them are answered in equal numbers. People have picked and choose their favourites. So a certain one about the Cats has come out on top, but I'll run through that, Seb. So First one was the Pies going to make the finals. We
Nope.
had 90% no for that one, so that was
Jeez,
that was
10% of people
resounding.
got that wrong. That is interesting.
There it is. It was pretty clear this week. So I also had a question: will Tom Lynch win the Coleman Medal? That got 89% no, so that was also resounding.
Well,
Um,
see, he's leading at the moment, I think. But he is the sort of bloke that has 6 or 7 great weeks and then just dies. Or he might get hurt and just won't have the impact.
Fade out.
But
Top
like he's playing
five.
Essendon this week, so he could kick another 7. So they might almost get him
Yeah,
there.
with their defence. True, true. Um, we do talk about the Suns on this show a lot, and I've steered into that. I asked, are the Suns finals bound? I got 74% no, 26% yes, which was the highest actually out of this week's questions.
Well, if you
Uh,
look at the draw and the fixture, they've got the best record against top 8 sides.
that's yeah, true. What have they beaten? Third, fourth, and fifth on the ladder this year. So
See, the
stacking
caveat
up.
with that is it's at the point they're playing, whether they're in the 8 or not. So I don't think Melbourne have played a top 8 side on that caveat, or maybe they've played one. But
Yeah, that's tricky. That's the thing, isn't it? Like you're getting teams at the right times. This was the big question though: is the Cats Premiership window? Sorry, the Cats Premiership window is either open or closed. We had 89% closed. So that's
really,
from our
so
loyal viewers, listeners, and
now
Instagram followers. There, that was our most answered question, by the way. A couple more answers than we
now,
had for the
but
other three.
can I ask, is a large portion of that coming from our strong Saints following, and we love you all, I know you do, and they just hate the Cats, or is that a genuine answer?
Look, they might have jogged up the numbers, but you could, I don't know
I
how much
feel
you
like they've
take out for
taken the
that.
chance to pile in like you have every single week about how old
Look,
they
I
are.
might have voted closed personally, but that was just one
And
vote.
did you get
So
your
I
wife's a phone and also vote closed just to really hammer it home?
take it out. It's still majority, I think, saying the window's closed. Where do you sit on it, Seb? What did you vote for, if you don't mind
I
telling
had
the
open
listeners?
just
You
because
went open.
it's Melbourne's flag to lose. But let's say the D's lose a prelim.
Could happen.
Any one of those other teams in the 8 can probably win the flag if that happens.
No, I agree with you there. I mean, we're talking, it's sort of a Melbourne Brisbane, but you probably could throw Brisbane into the mix. So it's just, it's if the D's go
Brisbane are
down.
not. Brisbane are good, but they're not. Melbourne are cruising.
No, it's
Two
Melbourne,
quarters
then
of footy.
daylight, and maybe another daylight, I think. But um, yeah, I'm with you. It could be sort of to cast your mind back, Seb, and I'd love bringing up this year, even though we didn't salute. But if the D's go down, it's got a bit of shades of '97 about it. So '97, you had the Saints on top with 15 wins, which was one of the lower win totals, and I think it was Saints, Cats, Dogs, Crows, all 15, 14 win teams. So it was wide open that year. I mean, if the D's would have to collapse as a club not to win the flag this year, but if they did, it is all open underneath that. Love the polls. We're going to do it again next week, and I love reading out the results. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll get them on because I like going outside the square with those too. We got a round 10 game. We've got round 10 coming up. Seb, you've cast your eye over the fixture. What's jumping out at you?
Well, like I said, I reckon North are a chance to upset the Demons because I feel like the Demons
So
might come in thinking they've only got to play about 10 minutes of footy. They might just be asleep and we might get a jump and beat them. Do you think, am I dreaming?
I think you might be dreaming. This this will be
Yeah,
the biggest upset in the history of world history, perhaps. I think it is
that big.
going to take something. I would love to see it personally. Well, if this happens, we'll just watch the game together and do our own commentary of it next week. That'll be our episode if that happens. It'll be a 2 hour special.
And if it doesn't happen, can I watch a different North Melbourne game and do the commentary on it? Because I have a great one from round 1796.
I was going to say I was going to Kerry kick 11.
11-2, 2 at the post. The game of the round's got to be Friday night, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Carlton,
So they got a
Sydney.
ride this week with the fixture, didn't they? The AFL will be absolutely loving their work there. They got one right, and they got one right with Carlton. You don't often see them doing that. I'm with you. This game's massive.
Can I throw something out there? You thought last Sunday was bad. This Sunday looks arguably worse, does it not? The Giants playing the Eagles in Canberra. Brisbane heading down to Tassie to play the Hawks.
Yeah,
And Fremantle
geez.
hosting the Magpies. None of those scream, watch me.
None of those do scream watch me. I'm with you there. That Giant Eagles game is one for the two fan groups only, I would say, that one. It probably isn't going to be pretty down in Tassie either. I mean, Collingwood Freo's probably got more of a ring to it than sort of the games last week. That might be the saving grace, but it's
just
over in Optus, so it could get ugly. So
quickly look
great.
at some of these. You've got Dreamtime back at the G. It doesn't scream great game. Saints Crows. The Saints will take care of business. Roos Melbourne, like first versus 17th. Cats Power is an interesting one, but
that's got claims, I think.
That's got claims, and then the Dogs Suns. No one cares about that. So there's really only two games you need to watch this weekend to have seen it all, folks.
You can get it done early too because they're the first two games of the round. That one's in Ballarat. The Dogs Suns. That doesn't probably help might not help the Suns there. I'm like Friday night's massive, but Saturday's intriguing. I know we just posed a question about Geelong, but if the Power win this, they're both on an even keel. They're both what
5 and 5,
5 and 5. Yep. So massive ramifications. I mean, this is your classic Geelong win this one by about 28.
Geelong lost last week, so they win this week. They've done it just about all year.
Well, yeah,
win, lose. Yeah.
I'd be interested to see when they have last lost 2 in a row down at the Cattery as well. So I think the last time they were down there, Freo got them. They don't lose many down there for a start, but they don't lose 2 in a row. That's for sure. So probably takes the sting out of that one. But that will be interesting viewings to see where the Power really are at. Because if they're back and they're a contender, they give that one a shake. But yeah, it's massive Friday night. I'm with you, Seb. I'm trying to pull more out. It's an interesting round. It's probably one of those ones. Get the matchups in. Get some of these games done, and let's look ahead to round 11 where we've got that Dockers D's game. Let's just bait our breath for that one in round 11. But still plenty to get through. We'll get through it. That's for sure. We love watching it all on 12 rows back, and we'll have our grades ready on Sunday.
Yeah, I like how you say we'll get through it like we have to, not like we want to.
No, I'm fully keen. This is what we do, Seb. We love the game.
We sure do, Tom. That sounded very
insincere.
That
sounded like a segue out, but it wasn't.
I do it. You want me to go back in post and fix this up? I'm not doing it. We don't have time for that. Look, it's great to talk footy with you, Tom. I do really enjoy it. And good luck to your team this weekend.